Welcome to this HP Learning Initiative for Entrepreneurs. The overarching theme of this discussion is strategic planning. My name is Greg Fisher. I'm an assistant professor of management and entrepreneurship at Indiana University, Kelley School of Business. Prior to joining academia, I was responsible for running my own business and for helping others run their business as a consultant. I then did a PhD in strategy and entrepreneurship, and now teach people and research on areas related to starting new businesses and strategizing so that businesses can be as successful as they possibly can be. So today's session is really part two of a two-part session. The overarching title of both sessions is Introduction to Strategic Planning and Strategic Management, and part two is focused on the strategic management elements of that. The overarching framework that we're working with for both sessions is this 5-step framework that you see in front of you now. This 5-step framework is a very simple but effective way of strategically managing your business so that you're working on your business, on where your business is positioned and how it can be as successful and as effective as possible. Instead of just working in your business, just doing your day-to-day tasks, this process can help you think more broadly about where your business is positioned and how it can be successful over the long term. And so the 5-step process, step one really focuses on analysis, which is understanding the environments in which you're operating and understanding what you and your business do well and don't do so well. Step number two is about using that analysis to make some key choices about where you're going to play and how you're going to win. And those two were discussed in a separate presentation. Step number three is about then using the choices that you've made to really align your business so that it's delivering on those choices that you've made about where to play and how to win, so that you're putting the pieces of the business together such that they're delivering on the choices that you've made. Step number four is then setting some targets and monitoring your progress relative to those targets. And step number five is then, as you learn more about how you're doing as a business, adapting so that you're effective and so that you're making changes to be as effective as possible. So if you just break this down, really the first two steps and flowing over partially into the alignment step or strategic planning, and the orientation for today's session is the latter part of these 5 steps, which is focused on strategic management. So the assumption here is that you've been through an exercise to really analyze your internal and external environment, use that to create a number of strategic options, choices your business might pursue. You've then made some clear choices about which markets you're going to be in, how you're going to win in those markets, and what you're not going to do. Then really the next step is to say, how do I create alignment within my business? And this notion of alignment means how do I put together the different elements of my business so that I'm delivering on the choices that I've made? So if I've chosen to be a business that has a really high level of customer service so that I can charge my clients more for what I do because I'm just giving them exceptional service, how do I put the different pieces of my business together so that I'm able to effectively deliver on that choice that I've made? And so alignment can break down really into 3 questions. And it boils down to what capabilities and resources do I have in my business? Capabilities are the things you can do, and resources are the things you can own. And what capabilities and resources do you have that enable you to do what you've chosen to do in the previous step? What capabilities and resources do you need? So what are those that you don't have, but you probably need to either have or get access to? And how will you align those resources and capabilities? So in essence, connect them with one another so that you're getting the outcomes that you want. Now, the whole notion of alignment is to recognize that a business is a complex entity. It has a lot of moving parts. It has customers. It has activities, it has processes, it has finances and payment mechanisms. It's got a lot of different moving parts that need to come together. And your role as the business owner, as the person responsible for deciding what the strategy is and implementing it is to bring those parts together so that they work to support each other and be as effective as possible. So in terms of thinking about the different parts of your business, this is one simple way of doing it. This framework that you've got in front of you now really taps into the most important, the sort of 9 most important elements of your business that you probably need to align in some way or another. And the starting point for thinking about the alignment of your business is that square right in the middle called the value proposition. The value proposition is the thing that you have chosen to do better than others for your customers based on your where to play and how to win choices. So it's really orientated around your how to win choice. What's the thing you're going to do exceptionally well that's going to create value for customers? And so in terms of beginning to establish some sort of alignment in your business, it's about capturing that. And you can draw one of these for yourself and begin to use this as a mechanism for brainstorming how you're going to get alignment and then how you're going to execute on that alignment. So step number 2 in terms of beginning to do that is to think about which customers are you going to serve. So you sort of move to the right of the slide as we go. So which customer segments are you serving? What do your customer segments look like? Who are they? How old are they? Where are they located? What are they looking for? What are their needs? And really getting or reinforcing a clear picture of your customer segments. Then you need to think on either side of those customer segments, you've got customer relationships and channels. So how are you going to reach those customers? Through what channels? Are you using an online channel? Are you using a retail store? Are you going to be connecting with them via the telephone? And depending on the business, those kinds of channels will vary, and you need to make sure that they align with your value proposition and with the type of customers you want to serve. So it makes no sense saying, I'm going to connect with my customers using a smartphone application if none of your customers have smartphones. So it's about making sure you're getting that right. And then how are you going to maintain relationships with your customers? That's the box above customer segment over time. So how are you going to keep in contact with them, foster your relationships with them? In some businesses, like in higher-end financial services, you may have customer relationship representatives that get to know each client and really understand them. In others, it might be all about a self-service relationship if you're looking to minimize costs. And then you say, okay, well, based on all of those things I'm doing with my customers, what might my cost structure look like? And then on the other side, once you've got all of those pieces in play, the other side of the business really looks at, or of this alignment map, really looks at what are the things you need to do or have that enable you to deliver your value proposition. So the right-hand side is about connecting with customers. The left-hand side is about processes and practices within the business to help you to deliver your value proposition. And in terms of thinking about that, you think about who do I need partnerships with, so your key partners. What activities do I need to do really well? Is it marketing? Is it manufacturing? Is it cooking? Is it taking pictures? Whatever it might be, design. And what key resources do I need access to? Do I need a location? Do I need certain machinery? Do I need certain computer equipment? And based on all of the choices that I've made, what kind of revenue streams can I expect to generate? And this map is really just a set of prompters that can help you think about the different elements of your business, how they connect with and align with one another so that you can begin to map out the alignment of the different pieces of your business. Then once you've done that, it's important to go and implement those things. So to go and make the changes in your business so that you're establishing that sort of alignment. And off the back of that, you want to set up systems so that you're able to monitor whether you are being effective or not as a business owner. So in terms of the choices you've made and the changes that you've implemented, how successful are we being? So in terms of monitoring your success, first question you want to ask is, how will we know if we are successful? How will we know if we're doing as well as we had intended to do? And off the back of that, you can use that as a basis to ask question number 2, what are our targets? So if we will know if we're successful if we generate $50,000 in profit in the next year, then you can say, well, so our target is going to be 60,000 because we're going to try and stretch ourselves a little more. So we establish our target of $60,000, and you can have targets in various different areas of your business in order to try and achieve that overarching goal. And then when and how will we monitor performance in different areas of our business so that we can see whether we're moving closer towards those targets and goals that we've set for ourselves. And so in terms of this monitoring, I always encourage people to think about, number 1, setting targets and measuring performance in at least 4 areas of their business. And those 4 areas sometimes get called the balanced scorecard. They are the 4 broad areas of a business that tend to lead to success. And so one area of your business in which you may think about setting targets and monitoring performance is the financial area. How much do you want to generate in profits? How much do you expect to get? How much do you want to generate in revenues? How much do you expect to get in profits if you generate that in revenues? What sort of costs do you expect to incur over time, and how you're going to manage those costs down? So a pretty obvious area of monitoring performance is financial, and that's the metric that most people use to understand whether a business is successful or not. But the reality is that financial performance is often dependent on performance in the other 3 key areas of business. So financial performance often comes from being efficient and effective in the processes you have in the business, managing your people really, really well, and fostering and nurturing really good relationships and the right kind of relationships with the customers you've chosen to serve. So in each of those other 3 areas, you also want to potentially set some targets. So in terms of processes, you might think about, how quickly do we want to turn our orders around? How quickly do we want to produce information about our business, so management reports about our business? How much do we want to? How do we want to keep our customer returns down? And so you think about all the underlying processes that are used to manage a business and how you can become as efficient and effective in those areas. So you try and set targets and then monitor progress in those particular areas. People are also central to being successful in a business. So if you've got employees, then you may want to say, how do I want to make sure that those employees are satisfied? And you might measure absentee rates, you might measure how much they are paid relative to others, you might measure their general satisfaction on a day-to-day basis by asking them a few questions. You might measure how regularly they're getting trained and how good their skills are relative to others in the industry. And the third key area to driving financial performance is relationship with customers. And you might try and do customer surveys regularly to measure how satisfied they are, or look at, if you're running an online business, look at your ratings on online measurement sites, or your star ratings on how you serve customers on Amazon, if that's what you're doing. And so the intention is to create both targets and then to monitor performance in all 4 of these areas. And if you do it well, then your strategy begins to become a reality. And then the final piece of this puzzle, of the strategic management sort of process, is to adapt when things aren't going well and to push on and keep doing things well when they seem to be working. And so if you're not getting the results that you want, and it might be in one particular area of the business, or it might be the overarching business, you're just not getting the profits that you want, the key is to ask yourself the question, why are we not getting those results? That's the general notion of general question driving your adaptation step. And then you ask the question, well, what needs to change? What needs to stay the same in order to try and resolve the issues? And how will those changes that we choose to make translate into desired outcomes? And so it's about using the information you've got from the step before in the monitoring to make some choices and to make some changes so that you're getting more and more effective over time. And there's two tools I think you can use pretty effectively in this adaptation phase. And the two tools sort of create a tension between them. Because the one tool is about really understanding why things are not working the way they should be working, and that's what I call root cause analysis, or the 5 whys process. And the second tool is about saying, recognizing that strategy takes time to play itself out, and therefore you've got to give any strategy, any choices you've made about what you're going to do in your business, enough time to bear fruit if you're going to ever see them be successful. And so you don't want to change too much, and you only want to change things when you can really know that you've understood what's not working. And so the root cause analysis helps you really to understand why you may not be getting what you're getting. And the idea behind that is that if something's not working out, you ask, why is it not working out? Why are we not getting repeat orders from customers? And then you come up with what seems to be the most obvious answer. They use our product once and it served its purpose. And then you may ask, well, why is that the case? Why do they not see a need to use it multiple times? And then you try and answer that question. And it may be, well, they only have this need once every 2 or 3 years. And then you say, well, why do they only have the need once every 2 or 3 years? And you may begin to answer that question and then ask it why again and answer that question. And it helps you get down to the things that you might look to change in your business that will have a real impact, that will have really significant effects. This was a process or a tool that was developed by Toyota to help it understand why they weren't necessarily getting the results that they wanted on their production lines, and they began using it throughout their business. And it now gets used by small businesses, large businesses all over the world to better understand what's at the core of them not getting the results or outcomes they desire, and what really needs to change to allow them to get to the point where they're getting the results that they want. And those changes that you need to be traded off with or looked at alongside the need to recognize that for a strategy to be successful, it needs to be continuously implemented over a period of time. And that's the idea of strategic continuity on the right-hand side of the slide. And behind that is the question, is there enough continuity in your strategy to allow your organization to get really good at something? So if we go to an example of, for instance, a photography studio that's chosen in the steps above to focus really heavily on wedding photography as opposed to other kinds of photography, family portraits or sports photography or something else, and has aligned the business to deliver on that, so has chosen customers and created a value proposition and developed bought the equipment and developed the capabilities to be able to do it, and or thought about how to develop those, and has begun to implement that and monitor performance in relation to that, and it's just doesn't seem to be getting calls from customers that it needs. One question to ask is, have I been doing this long enough to really become the expert at it, to become really good at it, so that I have an advantage over others? And that's the notion of strategic continuity. For your business to become really good at something, it probably needs to be doing it for a fairly long period of time. And for different businesses, it's going to be different periods of time, but you don't become really good at something that's valuable and can create value for your business overnight. You need to persist and continue at it to be really successful. And so don't just adapt everything or change everything because it hasn't worked once off or in the first week or in the first few weeks. You often need to persist longer than that to allow the strategy of a business to take hold and to begin to be recognized for being really good at something. And so that notion of continuity is required to really be seen to be different and to allow the alignment within your business to take hold to deliver on that differentiation. And so once again, we can tie those 3 steps of alignment, monitoring, and adaptation back to our overarching strategic management framework of 5 steps: analysis, choice, alignment, monitoring, and adaptation. We can integrate it with the earlier 2 planning steps of analysis and choice, and off the back of that, think about alignment, monitoring, and adaptation. And within each of those areas, remind ourselves of the 3 key questions that we're asking to prompt us to think about what we need to be doing to drive alignment, to monitor what's going on, and to foster adaptation. And then think about some of the tools that we might use to enable us to work through and implement some of these strategic practices, like the balanced scorecard and the 5 whys and strategic continuity. And so ultimately, this slide in front of you now ties together everything across the 2 presentations that we've had on strategic planning, so that you can see everything in a holistic picture. And it's really about engaging in this process. The first 2 steps, you probably want to do it maybe once a year, maybe 2 times a year, maybe 4 times a year if you're in an industry that changes a lot. And then the last 3 steps of management are really ongoing things that you're doing. You're ongoing trying to create more alignment in your business. You're on a continuous basis monitoring performance and then trying to adapt in relation to the feedback that you get. So hopefully this gives you the fundamentals to more strategically plan and manage your business as you go forward, so that you can be successful. You can be known to be good at something. You can generate profits off doing that, and really create a successful and sustainable business over time. I hope that's been useful. It's been a great honor and privilege to talk with you today, and I encourage you to really test out these ideas, use them, and hopefully they give you the results you're looking for. Thank you very much.